The New York Knicks Minnesota Timberwolves situation continues to get crazier as while Karl-Anthony Towns looks like an MVP, Julius Randle and the entirety of the Minnesota Timberwolves seem to be crashing out. Meanwhile, Donte DiVincenzo has made consistent comments and actions that makes it feel like he wishes he was still on the New York Knicks, while Leon Rose pulled off an all-time heist. And we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as we always do. And if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe. 26.5% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. Let's try and get those numbers up. It helps me out a ton. We're still trying to get to 10K. We're under 400 subscribers away, so let's try to get there. But we're here to talk about basketball, as always. And Karl-Anthony Towns, man, what a player. I mean, got traded to the New York Knicks. A lot of people were unhappy. I obviously liked it the whole time. Definitely didn't make a video on the street calling him soft or saying that this was a terrible trade that would bite the Knicks in the butt and make them never be able to succeed. I didn't do any of that. I definitely didn't walk it back just 48 hours later and say that I've changed my mind. I was just upset because I'm a Randle and DiVincenzo fan. None of that happened, so we're going to pretend like it didn't. But look, all right. Obviously, the Karl-Anthony Towns trade was very dramatic when it happened. A lot of people, including myself, didn't like it and thought it was a bad idea for the Knicks to give away two important players for one player who I thought was worse than Julius Randle. Now, obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns is better than Julius and Donte DiVincenzo combined, and it's been a massive win for the New York Knicks as Towns looks like an absolute MVP candidate this year. He played against the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, and it was just so funny to watch. It was this moment of Towns entering the flow state of basketball. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Timberwolves were just so tense and angry. I mean, Julius Randle played an angry brand of basketball all night, and Julius probably should have gotten the ball more, but when he was on fire in the first quarter, he was walking down the court, looked at the Knicks bench, and screamed F you right at their faces. Julius Randle had some serious beef with the New York Knicks ever since the trade, and it seems like that's not going away. Randle showed every part of I do not like this team. I don't really like the Timberwolves as well. I'm angry about this situation. The Knicks should have paid me, and they didn't, so they shipped me off to Minnesota. And I'm not taking that kindly. And frankly, he shouldn't. Julius Randle's the reason why the New York Knicks are here today. If Julius hadn't gone off in that season and then continued to be one of the better players in Knicks history, they never would have gotten Jalen Brunson. They never would have gotten Karl-Anthony Towns or Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby or Josh Hart. None of this would have happened without Julius Randle, and Randle deserves a ton of credit from all Knicks fans because if he didn't start playing well, the Knicks revival never would have began. He was the first step in this revival to the New York Knicks. Now, obviously, a lot of that is also due to Leon Rose being an absolutely phenomenal president of basketball operations. Leon Rose has been a top 3 executive in the NBA. It's undeniable, and everything he's done has been a success. So as far as it goes that Julius helped this team, it was even a success to trade him away. Leon Rose struck when the iron was hot, and frankly, it seems like it was a good move at the end of the day. Now look, a lot happened last night. Now, first things first. Anthony Edwards is miserable with the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. He said, "We have no identity. We know I'm going to shoot a bunch of shots. We know Julius is going to shoot a bunch of shots. That's all we know. We don't really know anything else. It's not on the coaches at all. It's on us. We out there playing, but we got to make it easier for each other. Coaches put us in a great position too, man. We just don't do it." So Anthony Edwards is taking the brunt of the blame. Meanwhile, Julius Randle and Edwards are seeming like a fit that does not work as they're both ball dominant and like to drive to the hoop. So it's just clearly not working out, especially when Rudy Gobert's sitting in there ruining your spacing. And also Jaden McDaniels, who's not a consistent three-point shooter, given he shot pretty well last night. It's just this situation of the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the dumpster right now. No matter what happens to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have found a way to shoot themselves in the foot every single time. They had an up-and-coming young core of Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins, and Karl-Anthony Towns. They couldn't pay them all. They trade Zach LaVine for Jimmy Butler. The Jimmy Butler disaster sets them back because Butler was good there, but only got him to an 8th seed as Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins weren't performing as they were needed to. And Jimmy Butler basically took it out on them and then eventually demanded a trade from them. Gets traded to Philadelphia for Robert Covington. Like, it becomes this situation where the Timberwolves are now worse again, start missing the playoffs again, end up lucking into the first overall pick again, and get Anthony Edwards. And then Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns and their core are in the Western Conference Finals. But nope, A-Rod wants to save money, so they trade for Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. giving away Karl-Anthony Towns, who's now putting up an MVP season, mind you. Now, if it wasn't for Jokic or Giannis, Towns might win MVP. He's putting up 25 points per game with 14 rebounds and 3 assists. He's shooting 46% from 3, which is higher than Jason Tatum's. And I'm only mentioning Jason Tatum because he's having his best 3-point shooting season by a country mile, averaging 45% from 3. So this is not Tatum hate. This is just me saying, damn, that's really impressive. He's also shooting 40% on corner threes and 53.5% from the field. Now, yes, he still gets a lot of fouls, but that's something that's never going away. Meanwhile, he's also getting a block and a steal per game. The defense has been improving for Karl-Anthony Towns in his time with the New York Knicks. And in fact, the man has just looked like an absolute superstar. It's been remarkable to watch Karl-Anthony Towns play basketball all season long. It's truly a gift. I had to take a sip of some tea real quick. My throat's going in and out. My voice is going in and out. So we're struggling here a little bit. But Julius Randle, on the other hand, speaking of struggling, 19% on corner threes. Last year, he was over 40% there. 3-point percentage is 36, which is not bad. And 48% from the field isn't bad as well. The rebounds have gone down. The assists have not really been that great. And the points are only 20 points per game. Julius Randle is not fit in on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he does not look happy there. His body language is negative. And it's just a rough sign, especially when the other guy you acquired in the trade, who the Timberwolves really wanted and who the trade predicated on, Donte Divincenzo, shooting 32% from 3, 36% from the field, 23% on corner threes. He's still getting a steal per game, and his defense has been downright awesome. But you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this has just been a complete and utter mess for them. Now, on the Knicks side of things are great for the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns is everything you ever could have asked for. The Knicks are doing everything they could possibly do. Meanwhile, Karl-Anthony Towns goes back home and puts up 32 points and 20 rebounds in an absolute blowout to show who the better team is between the Knicks and the Timberwolves. With last year, the better team was the Timberwolves as they made the Western Conference Finals, as the Knicks did not make the Eastern Conference Finals, given that was because of injuries, but it still happened. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns is on the Knicks, and the Knicks look like an unstoppable force. I'm excited to watch the Knicks play the Celtics again because, frankly, this version of the Knicks is not the version who played the Celtics at opening night, so it's very interesting to see what happens. Now, the Knicks also, their defense has gotten better, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, yes, they're completely crashing out, but at the same time, you look at this, and you see the Knicks' defense has gotten better. Anthony Edwards went 7 for 16 and only had 17 points. That's not a good game. Julius Randle started really, really hot, and then it felt like he couldn't get the ball in his spots because the Timberwolves are just a cluster. There's not enough shooting on that court, man, and they're trying to figure out what the problem is. That's the problem. You don't have enough shooting because you took the greatest shooting big man of all time and you traded him away for a non-shooter and for Donte DiVincenzo, who is on the bench, something he didn't want to even really do on the Knicks but was open to. Now you stick him on the bench of a team he didn't even choose to go to. Yes, they were his second choice when he signed with the New York Knicks, but he still chose the Knicks over them, so he certainly doesn't want to play the bench on the Timberwolves any more than he would on the Knicks. The Minnesota Timberwolves made a massive error. The New York Knicks have capitalized on it in every sense of the word. Now, Julius Randle was asked about playing the Knicks tonight prior to the game, and he said, "How will you treat tomorrow like any other game?" He responded, "I will." When he was asked how, he said, "Play basketball." And someone said, "It's got to mean something. You were there for 5 years. You were the face of the franchise." And he said, "It's another game." Julius Randle was very blunt. He was very clear that he wanted to go out there and kill the Knicks, which he did in the first quarter when the Timberwolves were winning, but they stopped going to him, and look what happened. I will forever be a Julius Randle fan for everything that he did for the Knicks, so I don't want this to seem like I'm bashing him, but Julius Randle does not fit on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's showing that he does not really want to be there, and I do hope the Timberwolves trade him for his own good, because I think there's teams that he could fit in on. The Clippers come to mind. The San Antonio Spurs come to mind. There's teams that Julius Randle can play good basketball on, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are not one of them because they're a terribly ran organization, and they have been for a while, who've lucked into first overall pick, into first overall pick, into first overall pick, which is why they've been able to succeed. It's just that they've gotten lucky with drafts. Or has it been luck? It's another conversation for another day. Look, on top of that, Brunson was looking for Julius Randle after the postgame, and you could see him mouth to the Knicks lady there. He left because, well, when you take a look, there's a lot going down. Julius Randle went straight to the locker room after the Timberwolves lost. No shaking hands or pleasantries with his former teammates, even though Brunson was looking for his old friend. Meanwhile, Donte DiVincenzo hugged his former teammates after the game. Now, if you guys remember the video I did yesterday, I did talk about the fact that the way DiVincenzo alludes to the New York Knicks, it feels like Divo wants to be back on the Knicks more than anything else, and I would agree. I imagine Donte DiVincenzo wants to come back to the Knicks. It's the same thing I said about Mikal Bridges all year last year. Think about it. His 3 friends from college are all on the New York Knicks and succeeding and having a blast. Meanwhile, he's on a team that there's a lot of turmoil, and yeah, it's not the Brooklyn Nets, but that even makes it worse. When Mikal was on the Nets, he was still in the same city as his friends. Now Donte DiVincenzo is in the Midwest. Ooh. I think he's actually from there, so I think he's okay. He actually has a ton of family nearby, so it could be a much worse situation for Devo. The Midwest deserves that stray, though, according to my brother, who went to college out there in Minnesota, actually. So take it out on my brother. Don't blame me. But look, it's just been an insane season. And everything started because, as Fred Katz mentioned, Julius Randle and the front office were so far apart in extension talks that if you hear the sirens outside, that's the divorce siren. The divorce was on the brink, and then obviously the trade happened. Leon Rose absolutely robbed the Minnesota Timberwolves. And now the Timberwolves are struggling to pick up the pieces. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks are absolutely flourishing right now. They're 17-0 and have an easy schedule for the rest of December. And we're about to see the New York Knicks show why they're one of the best teams in the NBA, which we're seeing as the defense continues to improve and the offense continues to improve. And Mikal Bridges specifically is really, really stepping up. But that is a video for later today. So if you guys like this and want to see that Mikal Bridges video, make sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, guys. Look at Leon. Him and his AirPods going all the way in his ears that look like they're touching his brain. What a legend. Gotta love Leon Rose. Gotta love Karl-Anthony Towns. I still love Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. That's just how it's going to be. Have a great day and go Knicks.